Good evening, Rabbi Weiss.
Good evening, Yossi. We want to thank Yossi Tov for joining us here this evening. It's a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure. First question. Dear Rabbi Weiss, today the Aguda is making available to the general public purchase of seats for the CMI Shahs this January 1st in MetLife Stadium. Buying seats for myself, my wife, and children and marrieds adds up to a pretty penny. Should I spend all that money for a hyped-up event to possibly freeze in an outdoor stadium in the winter?
Well, it is expensive. So are concerts. This once in 7.5-year event is worth every penny. And I'm not talking about $36 seats. I'm not talking about $54 seats. Even worth $100 seats. You see, the Gemara tells us, Poik chazi mai amadvar. Go and see what people are talking about. There is a power in the fact that 90,000 people, and of course it's much more than 90,000 people, there's probably almost for sure going to be a second arena, and it's going to be also telecast, but 90,000 people coming together makes an indelible impression that so many people recognize that this is an accomplishment worth celebrating. If only to come and join an amen to Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim toivim aleinu, because they'll daven inspired. V'chayim toivim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Amen. 90,000 people answer amen to that. V'chayim toivim aleinu. 90,000 people answer amen that we should have a good life. That's not a bad investment for $100. To say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu in such a auditorium of Kiddush Shem Shemayim. But of course, that's not the only reason to go. The inspiration of seeing people from all walks of life finishing Shas, and the strong feeling that I can do it too, has propelled many people with incredible emotion to start learning Shas and to finish it. Don't kid yourself. It's worth paying that kind of money just to stand up for all the Gedolim that walk on the dais. You know, it says that one of the Amoraim was tired and he wasn't able to learn. So he said, let me sit by the door, and when the rabbis pass, I'll stand up for them and get reward. Queer, isn't it? We're not supposed to do things for reward. So our Mefarshim tell us that this reward is different. For standing up for sages, Zaken is Zekana Chachma, for standing up for old sages that are both Zaken and Seva, the reward is V'Yoresa Me'Elikecha Yer Shamayim. Oh, that kind of reward we can aspire to. So this is an event that if you have the ability, you should never miss.
Dear Rabbi Moshe, now it's fashionable to talk about Daf Yomi, but realistically, I don't think I'm cut out to learn Yavamis and Creases. I'm more of an Agadata and Navi man.
It's true. Yossi has a point. In Europe, there was the Ayin Yaakov Shul. There was the Tillim Zager Shul. There were many people that felt that way. I'm not cut out for this. This was Rav Meir Shapiro and the Chartkever Rebbe's greatest novelty. That every Yid can learn Shas. I believe they got it from the fact that the Gemara Nida teaches us that in a mama's womb, a child is learned Kol HaTorah Kula. For what? For what? Just to forget it? Mayim amukim eitza b'lev ish. V'ish savuna yidlena. It's in order for us to know that v'sein chalkeinu b'seiresecha, each and every one of us could do it. It's what the Chassam Sofer Zechat Tzaddik V'Kodesh V'Rachas Chusi Yogan Aleinu said. In Haggadah we say Tisha mi yoidea, who knows 9? Tisha ni yoidea, I know 9. Tisha yarchei leida, 9 months of gestation. Chassam Sofer says, 1 is Hashem, 2 is the Luchas, 3 is the Mamas, 4 is the Tatas, 5 is the Chumash, 6 is the Mishnah, 7 is the Shabbos, 8 is the Mila, and 9 is 9 months of nausea? Of hardness of breath? That's 9? Says Chassam Sofer, it's the 9 months that we are given the potential to learn Kol HaTorah Kula. No one should say that I'm only a brachas and a tanis man. No one should say I can't learn Yavamas. That's what Rabbi Meir Shapiro was teaching us.
I'd love to finish us, Rabbi Moshe, but I'm not good at long-term commitments. 7.5 years every night, even on weekends and vacations, sounds a bit much.
And Yossi knows what he's talking about. Here's a man that was on the radio all the years and never missed one program, But he's talking about other people. Many people think 7.5 years is very daunting. It is. Rapam said a remarkable thing. Rapam Zechat Tzaddik L'Vrachas Chusi Yogan Aleinu said that if a person decides at this gathering that he wants to join the ranks of Daf Yomi, there will devolve upon him such a siyata dishmaya that he'll be able to do it. And I want to share with you an elaboration of this. Many of us responsible people will make a calculation. Can I do it? No way. Maybe a daf of brachas. Maybe Shabbos. Once it comes to Erevin. It's true. You're right. Many, if they used simple calculation, they can't do it. But they are missing part of the ingredients of the correct computation. They're missing the siyata dishmaya ingredient. You don't know how to add that to the calculation. But once you add that to the calculation, then you can do it. And I will tell you, I have in my share 2 people that are finishing Shas now the second time that never went to yeshiva. They never went to cheder. They never went to high school. They certainly never went to Beis Medrash. If they could do it, anybody could do it.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, I ask people who have been learning Daf Yomi for a while, and they tell me that when they come to the same Daf 7.5 years later, it's like the first time they're learning it. If there's so little retention, is it worth the effort?
Interesting question. It's true what Yossi says. There's times even I'm doing it now many more times than 2 times. And there are certain dafin that I come to and I say, I don't remember it so well. So you'll say, so isn't it better to sit down and learn slowly and chazer and okay, so Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu meine dafim. It doesn't count dafim. Reb Shimshon Pincus said a Yesod Gadol. He said that for every daf that we attempt to learn, we will gain entry into the Yeshiva Shel Maila for that daf. But if we don't at least attempt it, then we won't be allowed to learn that daf in the Yeshiva Shel Maila. Very important point. We want to be able to at least enjoy it l'netzach netzachim.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, I'm torn between Daf Yomi and Dirshu Mishnah Brura. What do you recommend?
That's a real tough question. What makes it even tougher is the fact that the Gemara tells us, Oyev Hashem sha'arim ha'metziyonim b'alocha yoysim mikol sharei Yisrael. Hashem loves the gateways of halacha more than all the gateways of Yisrael. So one would say, if you have a chance to learn Mishnah Brura, how could you forsake it to learn a Masechta like Tmura, which is an Aveira that's not Negel L'Maisa? The whole Masechta is an Aveira, and it's not Negel L'Maisa, it's not pertinent to today. However, we should not be smarter than Rameir Shapiro, than the Chavetz Chaim, than Rav Chaim Oizer Gedzensky, and all the Gedolim who decided that it's the discipline of Daf Yomi, being that we're the Amma Talmud, that we should spend our time on in a global, united way. Of course, a person has to be Mavasedra, and of course, a person should try to find time at least to learn Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, to know what to do. Ein bur yirei chet. And of course, a person should find time to learn Musar. All these things are important. But Klal Yisrael, it's Gedolei Yisrael, the Ger Rebbe, and throughout the ages, it met with the approval of all the Gedolim that this is what everybody should join together to do. And therefore, I would say Daf Yomi.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, okay, you talked me into it. I feel guilty, but every time I use an Art Scroll Gemara, I feel like I'm cheating. Is my feeling justified?
Boy, Yossi is easy. I hope I could convince everybody as easy as Yassila. We're saving him a seat by the share. What could I tell you? I use an Art Scroll, and before Art Scroll, I used the Sansino. I finished Shas with the Sansino. Now, I finished Shas quite a few times. So if it's cheating, then I'm guilty of it too. And you'll be a cheater that finishes Shas many times. That kind of cheating is permitted. I want to tell you a story. I made it a point when I went to Aguda conventions. I'm an Aguda Rav now for 36 years, B'li Ayin Hara. When I went to Aguda convention, I would always bring up an English Gemara to the dais and learn. It used to be a Sansino, and then it was a Art Scroll. Sometimes it was even an Art Scroll Chumash. One time, Reb Baruch Bochart, Zechat Livracha Zchus V'Yagim Aleinu, from the Aguda, came over to me and said, Rabbi Weiss, I have to give you a big yashikayach. You bring up that Gemara, gives chizik to all of us that it's okay to do so as well. So use, if you need to, use an English Gemara, and you should be zeichet to finish us.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, when I use an art scroll, am I forfeiting a melus b'Torah?
And the melus b'Torah is sure a big thing. Rashi says, "In b'chukaisai teilechu." Huh? Yeah. In b'chukaisai, make yourself at home. In b'chukaisai teilechu, shetiu amelim b'Torah. And then we get all the brachas. So we don't want to forfeit amelus b'Torah. And people say, oh, here's an art skull, it's spoon-fed. As a matter of fact, people say that about going to a shir. You go to a shir, you hear everything. What amelus b'Torah is that? So first of all, if you use an art scroll correctly, on some amudim, not dafim, on some amudim, that's one side, there's 6 pages full of footnotes. Believe me, if you use an art scroll correctly, there's plenty of amelus. Secondly, in today's world of distractions, in today's world of emails and instant messaging and Twitters and Instagrams, in today's world of 2-family incomes and crushing economy, just keeping your eyes open in the shir is amelus. So you don't have to worry about amelus.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, on a personal note, last year you did this Q&A as a grieving alman. We all want to wish you a mazel tov on your remarriage this year. Is there truth in the expectation that many second marriages are simply marriages of convenience?
Boy, what a way to switch the topic. First he butters me up with a mazel tov, and then he zaps me. Well, marriage is of convenience. Gemara says, zivig sheni lefi masim. A person's second zivig is according to their behavior. We hope that our behavior should merit more than a marriage of convenience. Let me tell you where that phrase, marriage of convenience, comes from. Hopefully a second marriage is not negated till late in life. And then already the taiva is weakened. And the people say, okay, so why do you get married? You need somebody to support you. You need somebody to cook for you. You need somebody to do the wash for you. So that's a marriage of convenience. But that should not be the reason why people get married. You get a cleaning lady. You still go under the chuppah with a second marriage, and you're making a pledge that from now on I'm making you the most important person in the world. That's not just convenience. So no, a second marriage should not be just a marriage of convenience. It should still have the gila, rina, ditza, v'ched, v'ava, v'achva, v'sholem, v'reyes. We still say that, you know, even by a second marriage. In Mishpacha magazine, I saw a husband that remarried the second time referred to his second zivig as his second first wife. And that is the right way to look at it.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, it happens often that many who are widowed or divorced get comfortable with their single lifestyle and they don't want to risk a second marriage. Or they don't want at this stage to change for another person, or they simply don't have the strength to date the complex selection that's available. My question is it acceptable, al pi Torah, to resign oneself to remain single?
Yossi knows from what he speaks. There are people that are burnt out. Sometimes they were in a bad marriage. and they're just happy to be left alone. There are people that at their age, they don't feel that they could mold themselves to another person. They're so set in their ways. There are people that look at the cast of characters that are available, and each one has their own idiosyncrasies of a lifetime, and they just don't have the kayach. I heard from Rav Shlomo Mababov the following advice. It only says in Tanakh one time, Loi Tov. Vayar Elikim es kol asher asa v'hinei tov ma'id. Hashem saw everything that he did and it was very good. Only one time it says Loi Tov. Loi Tov hayayis ha'adam levadai. It's not good for man to be alone. It's not good. Hashem says it's not good. How not good? Could be even the children say, "Why do you want to get married again? Honor mommy's memory. Honor tati's memory. You need to get married. You have us." So therefore we have none other than Avram Avinu, who is married to the perfect zivug, Sari Meinu. Remember, it says she lived 127 years, kulin shavin l'toiva. She was perfect. And who did Avram marry afterwards? The woman, talk about honoring his wife's memory, the woman that his wife kicked out of the house. Took back Keturah, that's Hagar. And who brought him out? Hagar? Yitzchak ba miber lachai roi. Yitzchak himself brought his father, Hagar. The easy way is not always the right way. And we have to be royas hanoilet. Hashem made it that in an old age, couples should be there for each other. No one should go into old age alone. So I want this to be a clarion call. That nobody should say, "I'm happy with the way I am now. I like to live near my children. I don't want to change. I'm not interested in having to take care of somebody else at this point. Now, if I want the air conditioner, I put it on. If I don't put it on. I want to eat fleisches, I eat fleisches. I want to eat milchiks, I eat milchiks. If I don't want to eat, I don't eat." Loi tov. It's not good.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, from your personal experience, do you have any dating advice for people looking to marry for the second time?
First of all, daven. Al zois yispal kol chassid le'es mitzay. For this, every pious person should pray towards the time of finding mitzay matzah isha matzah toiv. Daven. Also, realize that sometimes you might date somebody who is scared. It's possible. They might be scared of the commitment because the first time around it didn't work out too good. or they might be scared because they had it so good and they're afraid that they won't match it. It's not an easy thing. Also, know what is very important. Money is not what's very important. Money is helpful. But there are other things that are much more important. Health, loyalty, stability, seichel hayosher, being able to think straight. Those are all things that one should look at. Network. Talk to a lot of people. Define the parameters of what is important for you. Don't be afraid if you have the ability to take responsibilities. Maybe the right shidduch necessitates you to take care of some children. Maybe your job of taking care of children are not finished yet. And that's what Hashem wants from you.
Dear Rabbi Weiss,
Yossi, could I ask you what happens if that phone runs out of battery?
we're in deep trouble. Often in second marriages, one has to deal with new blended
See,
families.
this is why I brought this. You see?
Any tips for dealing with blended families now?
Blended families. So Baruch Hashem, my wife and I now have a big blended family. A big blended family. And when we got engaged, we went to the Skver Rebbe. And the Skver Rebbe Shlita told us that you should treat your new children even better than your own children. That's good advice. That's good advice. Also, good advice is to be patient. Don't expect them to love you right away. Expect them to be weary. Expect them sometimes not to like that their mother or their father is now taken by someone else. Don't expect Rome to be built in a day. And also don't expect that the two groups of children should all of a sudden be one happy family. Because sometimes that just doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen. You know, our own children are biologically, genetically connected. These children aren't. It needs a lot of patience, and it'll get better and better if we're patient at it. But it won't happen overnight.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, I've always had an interest in Jewish mysticism. Is there anything wrong with immersing myself in Kabbalah?
That explains all those country Yossi songs. Kabbalah he wants to learn. Okay, so in Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says that one should not learn Kabbalah until his belly is full of Shas and Poskim. That's what the Ramah says. On this, the Shach adds great Shach, adds that one shouldn't learn before he's 40, because it says Ben Arbam Labina. And then he adds, and one shouldn't learn unless he has the trait, Yossi, of Kedusha V'Tara, holiness and purity. And he says that those that try to do it without these requirements have had often their life snatched away at a young age. Whew. Strong words. If you look at the Chai Adam pretty much says the same requirements. Shas and Poiskim, Kedusha V'Tara. So, Yazi, just get cracking at Shas and Poiskim and Kedusha V'Tara, and then break out the Zohar.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, it's been 80 years since the Holocaust. Should I still refrain from buying German products? And if so, should I refrain from buying Italian products because the Romans were so cruel and vicious?
This is all for all those BMW and Mercedes lovers. It's not so simple, right? The Bosch is a household item. Bosch is also German. I mean, anybody who makes challah has a Bosch. And like Yossi said, you know, the Romans were so particularly vicious. They used to bury people in their head up to the sand and then swipe the floor with knives. And the person never knew when the knife was coming to his head. So you shouldn't, you know, the Italians are descendants of the Romans. Although historians will tell you, what are they called, Eucrestans? Anybody heard of that? Eucrestans? Oh. Huh?
The Crusades.
They'll tell you that the Italians are not really the descendants of the Romans. So, here's my feeling on the matter. According to those opinions that hold that the Germans are Amalek, so then there might be a real reason not to have German stuff. The Goin said Germany was Amalek before the Holocaust. Famous mice of Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. The Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, when the Chancellor of Germany came to Eretz Yisrael, he was the chief rabbi. Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, everybody went to make a bracha. And he didn't go. He said, I'm not going to make a bracha on somebody that, according to the Gra, I have to exterminate. Rav Gustman, as it says in the ArtScroll biography of Rav Gustman, as a partisan, killed a German with his own hands and said he was Mekayim the mitzvah Mechias Amalek. So according to those opinions, it's really understandable why a German product should be reprehensible. But even if you don't hold that way, while there are Holocaust survivors still amongst us, out of respect for them, if they're around, we shouldn't be using German things in their face. Now, people make a wrong equation. They say, what do you mean? This German person takes reparation from the Germans. One thing has absolutely nothing to do with the other. My father Olav Shalom, Baron Tzvi ben Rameir, Zichron Livracha, Zchus Yagan Aleinu, took reparations from the Germans for many, many years. And after my father passed away, the Germans still sent a check to my mother until she remarried, in German marks. Not only that, when my father was liberated by the Americans, and in one day, on the first day of Shavuos, during the second Salish transport, the Nazis in Auschwitz gassed my father's father, mother, 4 brothers, and 1 sister. So that when he was liberated from the death march, he was a double orphan with nothing. The Nazis offered to train orphans in the leather trade, and my father took them up with it and went to Berlin. I have pictures of my father in Berlin. But that has nothing to do with it. They took everything from my father. So of course they should make reparations. But for us to buy a BMW, a Holocaust survivor should see that and say, you're supporting the Germans? I'll tell you a story. My shver, my first shver, Olav Shalom. Now, Baruch Hashem, I have a second wonderful shver. My first shver, Olav Shalom, Rabbi Moshe, he lived with us the last 2 years of his life. And one day, I saw him looking at a clock, a cheap clock on the wall. He was looking and he was looking. I said, Shver, what are you looking at? He showed at me with a shaking finger that it said made in Germany. Think I knew? I took the clock off the wall and dumped it in the garbage. So while there are Holocaust survivors around, we shouldn't be buying German products. You want a BMW, so buy a very nice Lexus. Now the Bosch is a little bit of an exception because there really isn't an alternative. If there was, we shouldn't buy it. I have a Bosch. The Mumche say there's no real alternative. So I don't think while there are Holocaust survivors around, it's by the way, this is not the only thing. I don't speak about any possible lesson from the Holocaust in front of Holocaust survivors. This whippersnapper is talking about the Holocaust. He doesn't even imagine what it's like. He wouldn't survive for 10 minutes. And they're right. I might talk about the Holocaust, but not in front of a Holocaust survivor. When the Holocaust survivors around, we have to behave with incredible sensitivity to Holocaust survivors.
This next question was received via email to the Irgun. Dear Rabbi Weiss, there is much conversation about reducing the costs of wedding. How does the Rav feel about eliminating votes, a totally unnecessary expense?
That's true. Totally unnecessary. Let me tell you how the vote expense probably started. The vote expense started because there's a Tnoim expense. People that make a Tnoim, that's a serious business. And it's accompanied by a Suda. So we who don't make it Tnoim, we don't want to lose out on a little festivity, so we invented a vote. A vote is nothing. But we don't have a Tnoim, so we made up a vote, you know. So the truth of the matter is that a vote is a lose-lose proposition. It's a lose-lose proposition. What I mean, a vote with a little party planning, not going out over the top, you know, is $3,000. It's a lot of money for a family that already has expenses over there. So, and on top of that, it's at least 20 times a year missing another 20 daf yomi shiur. Or missing another 20 times with the children. It's a lose-lose proposition. Okay, but would that it should be so simple? It's not. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakol niyeh b'dvaro. There's a golden rule that we should try not to fight with the new mechatana. And this would be fertile area to fight. We don't want votes. What do you mean you don't want votes? All our children had votes. What are you, a nutcase? You want us not to have a vote for this child. What are you, some kind of a zealot? It's certainly not worth fighting with the new mechatanim about. It would only be if in your shul you could try to prevail that everybody agrees not to make a vote. Just a l'chaim, no votes, it's too much expense. You know, they have a l'chaim in the house and the close friends will come for l'chaim. There shouldn't be a l'chaim and a vote. It's a double expense. It's another 2 nights. Even though it only helps for your shul if you have an inter-shul marriage. And then there's also, you're going to now make up no vote, and your daughter is going to say, wait, I waited till 29 and now I can't have a vote? So it's not simple at all. On paper it sounds very good. But it's not worth fighting about with the mechatanim. It's not worth upsetting the chassan and khalid. It's a very delicate balance. It's not worth upsetting it. And we find, so the simple answer would be make takanas. But we find that the takanas has been a gezeira she'ein hatzibur yochel lamed ba. So the question is that it's a difficult problem to solve. But at least if you go with the attitude that I don't have to make the knackiest vote. I don't have to have stuffed cabbage and sesame chicken. I don't have to have ice sculptures in the party planning. In other words, at least realize that this is not something that we should be spending a lot of money on.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, the next question is from a Torah Anytime listener. Why do so many shuls eliminate the tefillah for Tzva Haganah Yisrael? Those are brave Jews out there risking their lives and fighting for all Jews.
Okay, this is a tricky question. You see, we certainly should daven for the IDF, for the Israeli Defense Force. There's children there from Hesdi yeshivas, and even if they're not, they're Yidden, that are making millions of Jews safe and putting their life at risk in doing so. So of course we should daven for them. No question about it. In my shul, Agudas Yisrael Staten Island, I say the Mishbeach for the Tzva Haganah Yisrael. I say it myself. In our bungalow colony Sun Circle, I also say it. Now, I told my Olam that when I say the Mishbeach for the Tzva Haganah Yisrael, you could also have in mind Hatzalah members. Because that's also a Tzva Haganah Yisrael. That's also an army that protects Klal Yisrael. And they're also driving at high speeds, and they're also sometimes not getting sleep. Could daven for them too. Also, when I say the Mishaberach, I add, when we say for the Chayolim, I also add Va'al Kol Yisrael. Because why shouldn't we pray for the protection of all Yidden? It's been a very, very deadly summer for Yidden. Why shouldn't we say it? Now, the reason why it's not said in many shuls is because it's an army that is not under Torah law. That's why it's not said in many shuls. Because it's an army that is not under Torah law. And therefore, the worry is that by saying it, it sounds like you're approving the Tzva Haganah Yisrael. And that is, it's somehow our army, Klal Yisrael's army. Even, that's why in my shul, not in my bungalow currently because I'm not the official Rav there, but in my shul, I say it and I leave out the psukim for that reason. I say it without the psukim. Kedaven for the safety of Jewish people. I leave out the psukim. But if it irks you that in your shul they don't say it, then you should have it in mind in every Sim Shalom and in every Shalom Rav. That should be your answer. I'm going to have them in mind in every Sim Shalom and in every Shalom Rav that I say, that they should be at peace.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, Hakol Nishma, should I vaccinate my children or not?
If you don't, let me know. You know, I've been reading that there's a growing number of people in Europe that have stopped using cars because it's no good for the climate. They only use trains because the emissions are affecting the global climate. Can you imagine if a group of zealots would come out that you shouldn't use cars? How many people would follow these nutcases? I don't know how we risk the lives of our children because a couple of laymen, it's a strong miyuta de miyuta, but they're mostly laymen with loud voices, some with charisma. It's not a very strong block of physicians. You're not hearing a group of pediatricians get together and say, don't vaccinate your children. What are you talking about? All the main physicians, Dr. Shanik, Dr. Adler, all the main physicians that treat tens of thousands of children say, you better vaccinate your children. Ruba de Ruba of Gedolei Yisrael, and some that we have heard prominently mentioned otherwise, I've heard from reliable sources that there are some that have already changed their minds. It's hard to back out of a real public statement. I want to tell you something. Many of you have heard about that stewardess that died on a plane. And now they're saying, well, she only had one of her 2 measles vaccinations. But people are not vaccinating. And I have to tell you, these people are crazy. Whenever I speak about vaccination, I get woken up by a woman in Eretz Yisrael who calls me up and calls me a murderer because I'm telling people to vaccinate. I'm expecting a phone call tonight. They keep on throwing at you podcasts and reports. And then I go up to the country, and in Dollar Tree, I hear some goyim saying, stay away from those kids. They might not be vaccinated. What a chilul Hashem. What a chilul Hashem. If we don't watch out, they're not going to let us on planes until we bring proof that we were vaccinated. Vaccinate your children. And by the way, don't take it for granted that your children are vaccinating their children. Because they look up in the internet and they hear, oh, mercury! Vaccinations is one of Hashem's gifts to mankind. There shouldn't even have to be a discussion about this. It's a davar pashut. The majority of poskim, the majority, including Rav David Feinstein, including my cousin Rav Moshe Weiss, and the majority of poskim, and the overwhelming majority of world-class doctors say you must vaccinate, and there's nothing more to talk about.
In a lighter vein, Rabbi Moshe, do you believe in segulas? And if so, which ones do you recommend?
See, when the Country Yossi program was on, I would say that's a skula to laugh. Kiwi and Tuki is a good skula. Yeah. I believe in the skulas that Hashem has given us in the oral law. There are many segulas. The first skula in Shas, Kol hamashlim parshiyosav im hatzibur shnayim mikra ve'echad targum marichin lo yama v'shnaysav. The first skula in Shas. You want to live long and have good days, quality days? Be mavased. Not as easy as it sounds. I fell behind in Matas Masay this year. Caught up. First I did Dvarim, and then I went back to Matas Masay. But it's a potion of life. Person should make it, we're talking about all the hype of Mavaseda, Beam, all the hype about Daf Yomi. It's a big thing. But it doesn't say if you learn Daf Yomi, Marichin al Yom of V'shnaysim. I mean, it says Chaim Ilam HaChazigim. Don't get me wrong. Rav Gifter, in his eloquent way, Rav Gifter reminded the Olam that Rav Meir Shapiro homiletically said that the Daf Yomi, Daf is a board. And he says the Daf is a lifesaver. When you're floating through the ocean of life, the sometimes tumultuous and tempestuous waves of life, you hold on to the Daf, and it gets you through life. There's no question. That's the way Rav Meir Shapiro, in his flowery way. There are stories of people learning Daf Yomi in Maidanek. There's a story of a Yid that went in and broke in. The Nazis had a Shas. And he broke in the death camp. He broke into the storage area and he stole a Gemara Yuma from the Nazi Shas because the Daf Yomi was learning Yuma. And they learned, I believe, it's 88 blot of Yuma. And they made us see him in the death camp. And then they turned to him and he broke in again to get the next Gemara. They shot him through the head. That's how Yidden were Moshe Nefesh. For the Daf, we don't have to break into Nazi closets to get our brachas Gemaras. But as much as the Daf is a lifesaver, but it doesn't say Marichin lo Yom V'shnaysav. Ma'avis Sedra is Marichin lo Yom V'shnaysav. And don't wait and say, okay, I'll stop by Bereshis. No, Akev! You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do this. Just say the parasha twice and then the Unkelus once. I don't know what it means. Okay, it doesn't make a difference. Say it even if you don't know what it means. It doesn't say you have to understand it. You have to do it. Both Lashon Kodesh and Unkelus is intrinsic language, and it counts even if you don't understand what you're saying. But it's a potion of life. You want a skula? That's also Yossi's, he's looking for the mystical. Want a skula? Oh, wait a minute. Thank you, Yossi. You want a skula? Be marich be'echad. When you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, it's kol ha'ma'arich be'echad marich lo yom v'shnai. So it doesn't take that long to be marich be'echad. Echad. You think Hashem is one. Ches is over the 7 heavens and 1 earth. You want to go like Rabbi Moshe. Rabbi Moshe says there's more than 7 heavens. And above the heavens is the Ifanim v'chayis HaKodesh. So have in mind the 7 heavens and more. And the 1 earth, that's 8. And Dalet is the 4 ruchos, the 4 directions. Then think that Hashem is unique. And there's no uniqueness like His uniqueness. And nothing exists besides Him. The Atam Echayes Kulam, that's Echad. And then you think of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who says that when you're pointing Hashem over the 7 heavens and 1 earth in the 4 directions, don't forget to point Him over yourself too. Yes, you want another skula? You want another skula? Be marich ba'amein. It says marich ba'amein, marich lo yama v'shnayis. What do you mean marich ba'amein? You ever wonder when we answer amein to Baruch Atah Hashem, Shemei Tefillah, why don't we answer emes? Emes! You'll get used to that. Why do we say amen? Because emes is an intellectual statement. Amen is more. Amen means I believe. That's the heart. So when we say Baruch Atah Hashem Shemei Tefillah and we say amen, of course everybody in this room will say, I believe Hashem is listening to my davening. But if you believe Hashem is listening to your davening, then how could you daven without kavanah? Hashem is listening. I know it, but I don't feel it. It's emes, but it's not amen. Have to be marich b'amen. You know what marich b'amen is? You know what the Chai Adam says? It says when you answer amen, you're not only answering amen to Shemei Tefillah, you're also answering amen to the Baruch Atah Hashem. And then there's an amen that has a double meaning. When you answer amen to Bnei Yerushalayim, it's I believe, but also may it happen soon. You know what it says about amen? Kala aina amen paiskan lo yishari Gan Eden. They open up all the gates of Gan Eden. Now that's a skula that you could sink your teeth in. You want another skula? Give you one more skula. Since everybody wants skulas. Want a skula? Call your parents more often. That's a nice skula. By the way, it's brought down that if somebody says Kiddush Levana properly, they won't die a Misa Mishuna that month. It's a nice skula. To go out and say it with Kavana. There's skulas to be taken. Want another school? I'm sorry, I wasn't planning, but it just, since it's flowing out of me. You want another school? It says that when a person sweats, the covered Shabbos, you're bathing a baby in a hot bathroom, Hashem considers it like tears. You're working in a hot kitchen. You're helping your wife schlep in a lot of groceries. Shari Tshuva says sweating is considered like tears. That's a skula.
So I guess I can throw away my Reute Bendel.
Yeah, you would be in good company. I'll tell you what, Yossi. Yossi wanted to throw something in on his own over here. His Reute Bendel. It's as good as the green Bendel. Now, I'll tell you the truth about the Reute Bendel. The Reute Bendel is a red alert. Red alert. It reminds us that there exists such a thing as Ayin Hara. Ayin Hara is very dangerous. It says Ayin Hara is Moitzinas Adam in Eilam. Gemara tells us that Rav went to a Beis HaKfaris and says, Gemara of Metzia, that most of the people died from Ayin Hara. Ayin Hara is when we flaunt the extras that Hashem gives us. And we cause other people tsar. So Hashem then says, why did I give it to you? I didn't give it to you to cause other people tsar. And then he takes it away. The red bendela is to remind us that we shouldn't flaunt the extras that we have. It's like, Yossi, tying a string around your finger.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, is it permissible to sample grapes and nuts in a store before purchasing them?
You know, what makes this so sad is that today we have cameras. And the Goyim are sitting and looking at Jews come in, but they come in with a whole family tailing behind them. And the father tastes all the different olives, and the children taste, because he wants to know if the children like it, then he'll buy more. So each child takes it, and then he comes in already with kechel. So he has that with the olives, and then the grapes and the blueberries and the strawberries. He doesn't have to go to the pizza shop. They already had a meal. Boy, do we have to be careful. It's true, the Goyim don't like us. It's a known thing. But they're looking for reasons not to like us. They're shopping. We have to be careful to do the opposite. We have to be careful to frustrate them. That's why I see a guy, I say to him, I hope you have a nice day. It's hard for him not to like me then. And I hold the door open for him. And if he has 2 items, I let him go ahead of me. And if he's pulling out of the parking space, I let him pull out first. It's hard not to like me. But if I'm driving on the road and I don't shut off my brights, and I'm honking in the middle of the night, and I'm double parking and blocking his car, and I'm parking in a handicapped spot, so I'm giving him ammunition. No, you shouldn't go into ShopRite and sample the stuff unless there's a sign you could sample. Sometimes there's a sign that you could sample. If there's no sign, you can't do it. And what's the gavul? I'm not sure. Let me try these. Let me compare. I'll come back later. Maybe I had some salt in my mouth. And what's the gavul? It's a big chilul Hashem. And then what do people do? They open up a box of strawberries and they pick a few out of one and a few out of the other and they make their own box. Can't do these things. It says, "V'yisim nekiyim Hashem Yisrael." Why do we have to be v'yisim nekiyim Hashem Minagoyim? We have to teach our children this. We have to teach our children. You say thank you. You say, I come into a store and I'm served by a clerk. If I go into that store a few times, I ask the clerk what their name is. This way I give them respect. I call them by their name. If it's a woman and you're a man, maybe you don't want to do that. Okay, I'll respect that. But if it's a man or you're a woman and it's a woman, what's your name? They like to be called by their name. They like to be treated like a person. And when you're talking to the clerk, put down your cell phone. And not even look at them. They like to be treated like a human, not like a giraffe in the zoo.
Dear Rabbi Weiss, how does one know if they are rejecting their basherta? For example, if one refuses to date someone who lives in a city they would not want to live in, or has a profession they don't like, or is a bit shorter, or is a bit younger, are they possibly throwing away their basherta?
I believe this question also came in via email. Right, Rabbi Deutsch? This was an email question. It's indicative to hear the examples that are used. If I reject the shidduch because I don't want to live in that city, that could be a valid reason to reject the shidduch. If it's a young girl or a young man who has what to offer, and they want to live in a city near their parents, near their siblings. They want to live in a city that has a selection of yeshivas, an exposure to thousands of Torah Yidden. That's a valid reason. It's not a valid reason if a person's been dating already a long time. But for somebody starting, it's a valid reason. That's not a reason that one will reject their basherta. It's not so easy to reject your basherta. Hashem is not going to make it that hard if you have a valid reason. Another example that was given was if you don't like the profession. Again, not liking a profession can be a valid reason. For example, a girl wants that her husband should be home in the night. So she doesn't want a profession that's based mostly in the night. Or she doesn't want a profession where her husband will be seeing women unclothed. And there's a heterim, malachta avida, but she doesn't want that. Or he doesn't want her to do something where she's going to be working with men that way. These are valid reasons. Or they don't want a profession that maybe leads itself to addiction or temptation. These are valid reasons. One is not going to lose their basherta for that. But then the questionnaire says if the person is too short, a little short, or a little young, that already is not on the same level. It's true that we make it harder the more reasons we make to reject the shidduch. And we should make sure and talk to a Moira Derech either a mechaneches or a rebbe, if our lists of absolutely not is realistic.
And finally, Rabbi Weiss, my wife would like to switch over to Chalav Yisrael. The children are all eating only Chalav Yisrael, and she sees many of her friends on Makpid. I like Carvel and Hershey's. Is there a reason to switch?
Forgot about the Kit Kat. And you. So Rabbi Moshe says that Chalav Stam today, since there is governmental controls that ensure that no milk from non-kosher animals is mixed into the milk, and the governmental inspectors that inspect the farms say they don't even see it. So therefore it creates an anan sadeh, and it's like there is a mashgiach, and one could have chalav stam. That's Rabbi Moshe's psak. Of course, others argue on Rabbi Moshe. Rabbi Moshe himself writes several times in Chelik Aleph of Yeridea, in Mem Zayin, Mem Tes, that a Baal Nefesh should be machmir, and he adds that when a Baal Nefesh is machmir, he doesn't have to worry that it's considered yuhara, it's considered being a Baal Gaiva, and he says that he himself is machmir. Now one should add that this heter was written in Tovshin Yud Dalet, 59 years ago. Today, let's face it, Yuhu is good, but there's a lot of good Chalav Yisrael, chocolate milks too, and all kinds of drinks. And while there's no Kit Kats, there's pretty good imitations in Chalav Yisrael. And we don't have Hershey's, but we have great Swiss chocolates. Today, unless you're traveling, today, it's not that much of a sacrifice to be a Baal Nefesh. So, to say that there's no reason not to switch over, it's not true. But, to look down at people that have Chalav Stam, that's an Aveira. Never look down at people that eat Chalav Stam. That's a big Aveira. And that we have to teach our children. Oh, they eat Chalav Stam. And there are people that even look down at people that eat, they eat OU. OU. How years ago they would chalish to have an organization with the sophistication and the Torah knowledge of the OU. The understanding of the complexities of the industry and the thousands of ingredients as the OU does. Thank God for the OU. What is it, 80 minutes at 10:20? Huh? Yeah. First of all, I never take it for granted that I'm asked to join this august group from the Gedolei Yisrael, speak on this platform of the Ergon. Rabbi Bald, Rabbi Deutsch should be blessed for what they do. It's important to support their works. There is a dinner this week, Wednesday night, at the Young Israel of Avenue K. That's Avenue K on East 29th at 7 p.m. There'll be a Q&A with Reb Chaim Kanievsky. There'll be footage of Nigunim from the Kalova Rebbe, Zech Tzadik Levracha. There'll be an elegant buffet sponsored by Classic Caterers. It's for men only. And there'll be speaking from Rav Noach Isaac Goldbaum, Rav Moshe Wolfson, Rav Oren Reich, and Rav Shmuel Dishon. It's well worth the support. Again, I thank Yossi Tov for traveling in from the mountains to be mahana us with his array of questions. And to all of you men and all the ladies that I cannot see, and all those that are watching this and listening to it for joining to this Kvoid Shem Shemayim, may we be zeicha with gesund to start Daf Yomi and be zeicha to v'seilichenu k'miyas la'atzenu the bias Mashiach tzidkenu b'meher v'yamein.
Shem Irgen Shir Torah Moses Boston, I give big Ashikayach Rabbi Weiss for answering all the shilas, Batum Tam Vadas, and for Country Yossi Tov for asking all the shilas, Batum Tam Vadas. We'd like to remind Olam that as you heard from Rabbi Weiss about Irgen Shir Torah's dinner this Wednesday, one of the things discussed tonight was about the Art Scroll Shahs. You have opportunity to win a complete Art Scroll Shahs with buying a special raffle, one ticket $100. If you're not here, you can call Irgen Shir Torah at 718-851-8651 or 718-853-3950 or email tapecenter@shivanet.com to take part in this great opportunity. B'achzokas HaTorah for Irgen Shir Torah, Tzabbatzis Torah, the Rabbim throughout the world, throughout the year. I'd like to be big Ashikayach to Mr. and Mrs. Mendel Weinstein for sponsoring tonight's Shir Lili Neshama, Sarah Ben Menachem Mendel, Sarah Bas Menachem Mendel, Shalom, Konim Kalman Ben David, Fege Bas Mordechai, Yosef Ben Mordechai, Avram Leib Ben Pinchas David, Yitzchak Isaac Ben David, Yudaria Ben Ephraim, Aleim Shalom. I'd like to be Ashikayach to Mr. and Mrs. Grenadier for the support of tonight's Shir Lili Nishmas, Chaya Be'el Bashav David, Shalom Yotzai tonight. And I'd like to be Ashikayach to Mr. and Mrs. Yitzchak Klug for the support of tonight's Shir Lili Nishmas, Avesem Rav Moshe Pinchas, Rav Doiv Halevi, Rav Tzvi Moshe, Rav Shalom Yaakov, all of our Shalom Eshi Jacob. Shikar to everyone for coming. Kanadi ben Akash Shem on Sakarish Baruch Lezakes Yisrael Figure Hebron Torah Mitzvah Shneim Adonai Chofetz Eman Tzidka Yagdol Torah VeYader.